Hey everyone, it's Kenji, and today we are talking turkey. I'm going to show you exactly what's going on inside a turkey as you're roasting it using the help of these two predictive thermometers from Combustion Inc. Not only am I going to show you what's going on inside a turkey, but I'm also going to show you why the roasting pan is perhaps the worst vessel for roasting a turkey in, as well as a much better, faster alternative, what I think you should be doing on Thanksgiving if you want to roast a whole turkey. But first, let's talk about the turkey itself. So turkey, like all poultry, consists of two different types of meat. We know there's dark meat in the legs and thighs, and there's light meat in the breast. What's the difference? Well, dark meat comes from the parts of the animal that are used sort of continuously with low effort throughout the day. So the legs, the turkeys are walking around on their legs all day. The legs are always getting a workout, so there's a lot of connective tissue in there. There's a lot of blood flowing in there, and that's what makes it darker. That's also what makes it a little bit sort of tougher and stringier if you don't cook it properly. Because of all that connective tissue, you want to cook dark meat to at least, 165 degrees for food safety, but at least around 175 degrees or so if you want all that connective tissue to soften and for the dark meat to become tender and delicious. White meat, on the other hand, is what's called fast twitch muscle tissue. So white meat, which is in the breast, that's used for the turkeys to flap their wings. They don't flap their wings very often, but when they do, they want to do it in quick, short energy bursts. White meat has much less connective tissue, much less fat in it, much less blood in it, and so it tends to dry out much more easily. Because of that, white meat, you don't really want to cook it beyond 160 to 165 degrees. That's when it starts to get really dry. So the problem is you've got two different types of meat on the same bird that need to be cooked to two separate temperatures. So most people, when they roast a turkey, they'll put it in a roasting pan like this on a rack. They'll stick a thermometer into the leg, and then they will roast the turkey until the leg meat is done. The problem is that by the time the leg meat is cooked, the breast meat is overcooked. And that's why you end up with this really sort of dry, chalky, stringy breast meat. So a roasting pan has these high sides, and what that does is it shields the bottom of the turkey. There's a lot of convection currents, a lot of air moving over the top of the turkey, so the top of the turkey cooks nice and fast. However, the bottom of the turkey doesn't get as much air circulation, therefore doesn't get as much heat energy, and because of that, it slows down the cooking of the thighs. So by the time the thighs are done, the breast meat is going to be even more overdone. In fact, I stuck a couple of thermometers in a turkey that I roasted in a roasting pan in a 375 degree oven until the legs hit 165 degrees. And by the time that they got there, the breast meat was over 170 degrees. And by the time it was all rested, the leg meat had gotten up to around 175, while the breast meat got all the way up to 178 degrees. That's really hot. Really, really dry, and all the gravy in the world is not going to be able to save it. Now, not only does the turkey cook unevenly when you do it in a roasting pan, it also browns unevenly. So you get this nice golden brown skin on the top, but when you flip the turkey over and look at the bottom, you'll see that the thighs and the back of the turkey are really pale and flaccid. In fact, they look almost like they're raw, like the meat was steamed, because essentially it was. There's not much radiant heat coming out here. All you're doing is sort of steaming it in its own liquid there. So what is the solution to this? Well, the first thing is to get it out of the roasting pan and instead put it into one of these, a sheet tray. They're cheaper than roasting pans. They are more useful than roasting pans. In fact, I rarely use my roasting pan. The sheet tray, what it does for your turkey is, first of all, it allows much better air circulation under here. Your skin is going to crisp up more evenly all around the turkey, and more importantly, your thighs are going to cook faster than they would in a roasting pan. The other advantage of a sheet tray is that it's made of aluminum as opposed to most roasting pans, which are made of steel. Aluminum is a much better conductor of heat, so it's going to radiate the heat of the oven up into that turkey a lot better. Now, if you roast this just like this, you'll get better results than you would in a roasting pan. However, if you want to improve it even more, what you can do is use a baking stone or baking steel. I'm using a baking steel. So a heavy stone, the kind that you would use to bake a pizza on, you probably have one at home. By preheating that in the oven at 500 degrees, you're essentially creating a little heat battery. You're storing a lot of thermal energy in that stone. And so then when you place the turkey on top of it, that heat then gets radiated up into the thighs and into the legs so that the legs and thighs cook much faster. By the time the thighs are done, the breast is not going to be overcooked. So to make this turkey, all I've done so far, I took out the wishbone, seasoned it with salt and pepper, and I left it in the fridge overnight. That's called dry brining. What it does is that it starts to break down some of the muscle proteins so that as they cook, they don't squeeze as tightly. And so they're able to hold on to a little bit more moisture. It's going to protect your breast meat a little bit. It's going to make the entire turkey a little bit more juicy. It also allows the skin to dry out a little bit. more than if you were just to take the turkey straight out of the bag or straight from the butcher. And the drier the skin is, to a degree, the drier the skin is, the faster and crisper it's going to get. All right, next what I'm going to do, I'm just going to rub it. Very little bit of oil. Essentially, I'm doing this just to make sure that the skin doesn't completely dry out as we're roasting it, that the heat gets distributed evenly all over it, and we end up with a nice golden brown skin. You could, of course, use one of my other techniques. You could use an herb butter on here, or better, you could use an herb mayo. Last year, I had a recipe for an herb mayo turkey that I put on the New York Times. That turkey was spatchcocked. Spatchcocking is the other great way to roast a turkey. You know, it's a thing that you can get your butcher to do. You could do it yourself at home, but it's also sometimes nice to just have a whole bird to present at the table. And this is a way that you can do that. All right, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna take my Combustion Ink Predictive Thermometer. I'm gonna stick one all the way through the leg and into the deepest part of the thigh, okay? And then I'm also gonna take one and stick it into the deepest part of the breast. You don't have to be too precise. You know, with a standard thermometer, it measures the temperature right at the tip of the thermometer. And so you have to get the thermometer directly where you think the coolest part of the turkey is going to be so that you can get an accurate reading of when it's done. With the predictive thermometers, they have sensors running all up and down their length. So they will actually calculate what the coolest part of the bird is and tell you what the real core temperature of the bird is, as long as you get it all the way through. You don't really have to aim too precisely. The other nice thing about these is that, first of all, we're going to graph and chart the data that comes out of all those sensors. And then they also tell you predictively when your food is going to be done. So based on the rate of the temperature change and the ambient air temperature, it can tell you basically down to the second when your meat is going to hit the desired target temperature. All right, so I have my oven preheated at 500 degrees with a stone in there. I'm going to now set the temperature down to 375, the same temperature that I had my other turkey at. And then I'm going to pop my turkey right in. Let's get rid of that rack. So baking steel, bottom rack. Let's get the thermometers on the outside so I can take them out more easily. And we'll get the turkey right in there. All right, so now I've got my probes in there. You can see that it's already tracking. I'm gonna set my alarm. I'll probably let him go to 165, but I want 160 just so that the alarm goes off and I'm ready to pull the turkey out when it gets to 165. Okay, turkeys are in, probes are set. Alarm should show up within a few minutes once it starts to make its calculations and sees how that temperature is rising. It'll probably take about 2.5 to 3 hours because that turkey is around 18 pounds, but we'll know exactly when it's done. I'll note that I did try this once with a much thinner baking steel. I bought a baking steel that was about 1/8 of an inch thick, which frankly is not really worth buying, whether it's for pizza or for anything else. It's a little bit too thin to actually do the job it's supposed to do, which is act as a thermal battery. So I would recommend getting a baking steel at least 1/4 inch, preferably 3/8 of an inch, or even 1/2 an inch if you can. I know they get a little bit heavy, but a steel or a stone that's nice and thick is essential for great pizza, and it's also going to help your turkey here. All right, so I will see you when that turkey is done. I'll probably make some gravy in the meantime, so I'll be back in few hours. So it's actually around 2.5 hours. So you can see our breast meat is up to 162 degrees, while our leg meat is up to 166, which is good. The legs are hotter than the breast, which is exactly what we want. Those aren't quite finished temperatures yet, but I'm gonna pull it out now because turkey does carry over cooking. So by the time this turkey has rested, those legs should be up to around 175 or so, which will be exactly where we want them to be for full tenderness. And the breasts should be a little above 165. So still nice and juicy. All right, so at this point, you can see the turkey is crisp. It could be a little bit more brown though, but what's gonna happen though is that as the turkey rests, that crisp skin is going to steam a little bit, it's going to start to soften. So I'm gonna show you how to fix that so you can serve and carve a nice crispy bird without overcooking the inside and still allowing it to rest. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna reheat my oven to as hot as it goes. In this case, that's 500 degrees. And we're gonna let this turkey rest for about 30 to 45 minutes or so. In that time, the temperature is going to sort of level out inside. It'll reach its peak. It'll start to cool a little bit. And then when we're ready to serve it, we are going to pop it back in the oven to recrisp and get that skin really nice and golden brown. And then we'll be ready to carve. All right, so I'll see you guys back in one good turkey rest later. All right, so now our turkey has rested. During the process of that rest, the leg meats came all the way up to 175 degrees. The breast meats got up to 164 degrees. So that seems just about perfect to me. So now our oven is preheated at 500 degrees. We're gonna throw the turkey back in there now. And by the way, that rest, it can be anywhere you need between, 30 minutes and say 2 hours or so. You don't really have to time your turkey perfectly. Whenever your family is ready to sit down, you get it back into the oven, in the 500 degree oven. And we're gonna let it sit there probably for about 15 to 20 minutes or so. And that should get the skin really nice and crispy because the meat has rested and cooled down a bit. It's not going to overcook. And we're going to have the best, not just of both worlds, I think the best of all worlds. All right, so I will be back when this turkey is ready to carve. So I'll see you in about 20 minutes. So you can let this go longer. It's really about crisping up the skin on the outside, and as long as the temperature of the turkey never exceeds the final temperature that it came up to when you were roasting it, it is not going to get any drier. But look at how beautifully golden brown this guy is. Whew. By the way, while this was cooking, all I did, I noticed that the pan, the juices in the pan were getting a little bit dry, and the fond was starting to get a little bit dark. So all I did was pour a couple of cups of water into the bottom of the pan in order to make sure that that stuff doesn't burn. So you just have to keep a little bit of an eye on that. But this stuff here we're gonna keep because I have this gravy on the stove that I made out of chicken stock and the roasted neck of the turkey, along with some mirepoix vegetables, so some carrots, onions, celery, a couple bay leaves, some herbs. So now I'm just gonna take the pan that the turkey roasted, and all of this stuff is kind of gold, and you want to heat up this pan here. It'll be hot coming out of the oven, so you don't really have to do much. But if you have any trouble sort of scraping this stuff off the bottom of it, just put it over a burner, add some liquid, and you should be able to deglaze it. I'm gonna put a fine mesh strainer over the top of the gravy pan. I'm gonna take my pan, pour it through there. So those are the juices of the turkey coming out with the water in the turkey, and then the water eventually evaporates, and then those proteins that are dissolved in that turkey juice will start to brown through the Maillard reaction, and that's what we call fond. So the stuff that's stuck on the bottom of the pan after you're done roasting or sautéing or searing, and that's all stuff that you want to keep. All right. So we've got our gravy, we've got our turkey. Let me taste this gravy. That is delicious. So at this point, we don't really need to let the turkey rest because it is already rested. All we've done when we reheated it was get the outside to crisp up again and to finish browning. But now let's take this out so you can see what the bottom of the turkey looks like compared to the previous turkey, the one that was roasted the traditional way. Get this out onto our cutting board. So you can see the top of the turkey. Ooh, here how crispy that is. Top of the turkey, beautifully browned. And the bottom of the turkey, not as browned, but much, much better than the sort of really raw looking turkey that we had coming out of the sheet pan. And let's compare that breast to the breast we had the first time. So this breast meat, much finer texture there. Ooh, it doesn't have any of that chalkiness because it's not overcooked. Nice and juicy, nice crispy skin. Let's pull off some of that leg meat and see what it's like, huh? And of course, the best part is that the turkey is intact and you can bring it to the table like a whole beautiful bird, like that Norman Rockwell idea of what a Thanksgiving dinner should be. You know, I love a spatchcock turkey. I do honestly think spatchcocking is the best way to cook a turkey if you're going to do it. But I know a lot of people care about the appearance of the turkey on the table. You know, I think there is a lot to be said about the visual components of dining. And so if you can bring a whole turkey to the table, if that's something that matters to you and your family, this is the way to get it really nice and juicy, really nicely cooked without having to ask your butcher to spatchcock it. Let's try some of that thigh meat here. Oh boy, look at that dark meat. I love turkey. I know some people are not fans of turkey because it feels like either a Thanksgiving thing or a lunch meat thing. But I look forward to Thanksgiving every year because it's like having really good chicken, but with a little more flavor. You know what? I'm going to get a little plate, get some gravy on here. All right, let me cut myself some of that dark meat. Get myself a few slices of that white meat. When I was younger, I hated white meat. You know, even as a young cook who was sort of working in really nice restaurants, I thought white meat chicken, white meat turkey, it was just sort of like the boring choice. But that was because I never really had it cooked extremely well. Let's put some gravy on there. Look how beautiful that turkey looks. Really nice gravy. I really do think turkey is one of the finest meats. If you've got yourself a good thermometer like the Combustion Inc., something that will tell you when the meat is done and not overdone, turkey can be one of the greatest meats of all time. All right, everyone, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your turkey this year. Guys, gals, non-binary pals. I'll see you later.